I modded Pokemon Violet so every trainer has only level 100 Pokemon. The goal is simple, try and beat the game and make it all the way to AI Turo. But this won't be an easy task. No. We have to defeat every gym leader which have level 100 Pokemon. We have to defeat the Elite Four and Champion who all have level 100 Pokemon. We have to defeat all of Team Star and all of their level 100 Pokemon. And we have to beat Arven, Penny, and Nemona's level 100 Pokemon as well. But don't forget the Titan Pokemon. Oh, wait, actually, yeah, they're not level 100 because, they're not trained to Pokemon. Nice! But to top it all off, I won't be using any items in battle to heal us or revive any of our Pokemon, and I'm not allowed to level grind to a ridiculous level which would just trivialize this whole challenge. So to begin, we have to pick our starter Pokemon. Now, there is definitely a correct decision here. As good as Sprigatito is, and as fast as Quaxly can end up being, it's not gonna matter since they won't be outspeeding level 100 Pokemon anyway. So I decided to pick up Fuecoco for a soon-to-be-revealed reason. Nemona picks up the Grass Cat, which is good for us because we all know fire beats grass. We also know that Nemona only cares about battling, and as expected, she challenges us to one of them. This should be a fair fight since we both just picked up these Pokemon, right? Hang on, her cat is level 100? She just picked this thing up. Slash. Oh, man, off to a fantastic start, I dare say. Well, that went well. I definitely should have picked that cat instead. Maybe I would have had a chance taking on all of the other level 100 Pokemon. Fortunately for me, though, we don't need to win this fight, and so Nemona leads us up onto Poké Path, where we fall down, meet Miraidon, and get manhandled just the way I like it. Which, yes, brings me to the lighthouse. This is where we run into Arven, who, yes, has a level 100 Squirtle. So I lead Fuecoco, and it's time to reveal the reason why I picked Fuecoco. It's as simple as it gets access to Ember, which has a chance to burn. Yeah, burn is good for two reasons. It of course deals damage after each turn, but also cuts physical attacks in half, which won't do much for me right now, but might come in handy later on. Anyway, back to our fight with the Squirtle. I go for Ember, and somehow we go first. Not because we outspeed, but turns out this thing is going for counter, which does nothing. Then on the next turn, we land the burn, which means we've put it on a timer. After a couple of turns, so this thing is gonna go down. Okay. Never mind then. I guess we're dead. Well, lucky for me, we don't need to win this one either. Let's go. Okay. So now with Arven dealt with, if you want to call it that, the rest of the Lost Platos has been opened up to us for us to catch some new Pokemon. Our next goal is to get into Mesagosa and head into school. But to get in, we'll have to take on Nemona, who this time will have two Pokemon. And on top of that, she'll have a Pawmi which is able to Terrasilize. So I thought picking up a few Woopers with Poison Point would be a smart choice. Not only because they'd be immune to Pawmi's electric moves, but also have a 30% chance to poison the Sprigatito. So I caught 3 of them and 2 other Philemons before taking on Nemona. Leading with our first Wooper, it gets taken out instantly and fails to apply the poison. So I sent in the next one, and then what happens? It gets taken out as well. At this point, I needed to keep one Wooper alive for the Pawmi, so I send in Fuecoco and Tarantula next, but they do nothing, which all but spelt the end of this fight, with Sprigatito knocking out my other Pokemon. Oh, wait a minute, we don't have to win this fight either? Oh, heck yeah! I'm so used to having to win this fight because we do Nuzlocke, and that means we have to win the fight, otherwise they die, and we have to reset, but cool, I'll take it. Heading into Mesagosa, we had 2 back-to-back battles we could not lose, and that was with Team Star. The plan was simple, try and poison whatever came out first with Poison Point, and hopefully stall it until it dies. Oh, okay, well, never mind then. Shroodle being poison type means it's immune to getting poisoned, so our plan wasn't going to work at all. So as quick as our fight began, it ended barely even making a dent in the god that was this Shroodle. I did however notice that he didn't seem to have any poison moves and was spamming tackle, so chances are if we bring a ghost type along, maybe it won't be able to hit us. Now I could do the boring thing and go over to South Province Area 5, pick up a Ghastly, and take the thing on that way, but no. I did the cool thing by heading up to the top of this ridge on the top side of the Lost Platos. Here there is a small gap that will lead you into the open world and the rest of the game. However, without our ride Pokemon, it's impossible to make this jump, is what I would have said if there wasn't a secret way to cross it. If there's a Pokemon close enough to the edge here on the other side, and you can lock onto it and throw your Pokeball into it, you can initiate a battle and have the chance to jump across the gap. Doing this will give us access to the whole open world before we even beat the full intro section. Since I used Staravia to get over here, I I thought we might as well catch it, and then there was also this Pachirisu just hanging around. So I caught that too. But we didn't do this for some slightly overleveled Pokemon, we did this so that we could travel to the first Gimmighoul Tower and abduct it. Adding Gimmighoul to my team should all but cement my win here. So it turns out Gimmighoul only had tackle, so even though this thing could never hit me, the moment it resorted to struggle, it could and eventually would take me down. So what I ended up doing was heading back to the place you can find Ghastly early anyway and picked up the TM Confuse Ray, which I could teach Gimmighoul and could then rely on the Strudel hitting itself. And after a long drawn out battle, finally we took down the first Team Star member. But don't forget, we actually have to take down 2 back to back here. And with battle 2 commencing, out came a Yungoos. I began by confusing it also as it decided to go for Leer. So I thought maybe this only has tackle too. Turns out that wasn't the case, as I swapped out to Wooper to try land a poison point. The first one failed, but luckily for me, Wooper number 2 gets the poison off and puts the Yungoos on a timer. Now I just had to stall long enough for the poison to whittle it down. So I send in Gimmighoul expecting it to be fine since I thought it would only have a normal move. This was not the case, and Pokemon after Pokemon went down until all that remained was our Staravia and Fuecoco. Thankfully Staravia had quick attacks, so that took a little extra off and the poison did the rest, just winning us the fight. Meaning finally I could make my way into the academy after 5 hours of game time. That was kind of ridiculous. Now you're probably thinking, sweet, he's got a strategy he can use for the rest of the battles. But no, it's actually really unreliable and require the enemy Pokemon only have access to normal moves, which is very unlikely. With all of the intro stuff complete, I decided I'd take on Katy next. Now, even though there's no gym order since, well, every gym has the same level Pokemon, Katy's gym should still be easier since she only has 3 Pokemon and they're all baby Pokemon. Did bro just say easy? Oh, you fool. After rolling the olive around like a boss, I headed in to take on Katy. So all the gym leaders have the exact same Pokemon they normally do with the exact same moveset, just with their stats cranked up to 11 since they're all level 100. Katy has Nimble, Tarantula, and Teddiursa. Problem is, all 3 of these Pokemon only have attacking moves. If you look at other challenge runs like this where all the Pokemon are level 100, you'll notice in most cases the Pokemon a player will come up against will have some move like Tail Whip or a status move or something, which will allow the player to at least get a turn to set up. And well, for Katy, that is not the case. So my first plan was kinda horrible and had an infinitesimally small chance to work. It relied on my Wooper who had a focus band to tank a hit and set up toxic spikes and also poison the Nimble with its poison point ability. Then I could attempt to stall out the Pokemon and potentially switch around with Gimmighoul to get immunity on the double kicks. This plan didn't work for 2 reasons. First, the focus band never activated because it's only a 10% chance, and second, we didn't have enough stall potential to stall all 3 Pokemon out anyway. So with that failing, I picked up a few more Woopers and 2 Quick Claws, which hopefully would activate to let Wooper set up the toxic spikes. This eventually did happen in an attempt, but I was unable to outstall it, so I just needed a way to reliably tank a hit, set up the toxic spikes, or even just some way to move first. And then it hit me. If I could somehow set up a Trick Room, I could get all my Pokemon to move first. The way Trick Room works for those uninformed is that it basically swaps the turn order of Pokemon. So the fastest Pokemon will actually go second. Moves like Quick Attack, which have priority and so on, will still activate first, however, but none of Katy's Pokemon have any priority moves. Only issue was, Trick Room has a -7 priority. Literally the slowest move in the game. Nothing else has -7 priority, by the way. So even if I managed to get a Quick Claw to activate, it still wouldn't get to move first. What? Wait, does Trick Room always go last? If we got the Focus Band to activate, that could work, but with only a 10% chance, we would likely be here forever. Oh, and for those wondering why I'm not using Focus Sashes instead, well, on top of costing a whopping 50,000 Poké-Dollars, Focus Sashes aren't available until after Gym 4. If only there was a Pokemon that could learn Trick Room and could guarantee take a hit. May I present the savior of this run, Mimikyu. It can be found not too far into the game at a nice level 20, which isn't over-leveled by any means. So I scooped one up, named it Gaga after the lady herself, and headed back to take on Katy once more. The team now consisted of Mimikyu, 3 Woopers, a Ghastly, and Staravia. Our Staravia has Endeavor, so if we can move first, it can instantly drop a Pokemon's health to match its own, being around 60, instead of the 200 that these Pokemon are generally starting with. Ghastly's here for its Curse, which will drain about 25% health each turn, turn, and the Whoopers for their poisonous points and toxicus spikes. Everyone was also taught Protect to increase the stall potential, which was an easy pickup just outside of the first city. With all of this, surely now we could do it. Only issue was, since Mimikyu was caught at level 20, sometimes the little shit decided to disobey me and would turn away. If this happened, it was almost a guaranteed wipe, and well man, we wiped here a bunch. On this attempt, I managed to set up a trick room and sacrifice the first Whooper and swap to Ghastly, who confused the Nimble and landed a curse. Since Ghastly quad resisted the bug move, it was able to survive a hit even if the confusion didn't activate. Swapping to Whooper, I set up the toxic spikes and Nimble hits itself in confusion, letting Whooper survive, which let me then stall out with Protects. Oh, this is the run, boys! Come on! Hang on, this is it! Nimble dies. Stage 1 down. Okay. Tarantula in next has 2 moves, Assurance and Bug Bite. But with Trick Room fading now, I had to set it back up or stall long enough where the toxic spikes would knock it out. Well, we didn't manage to set the Trick Room back up, and then we weren't able to stall long enough to take it out anyway, ending this attempt. So as close as I thought I was, there was clearly a few pieces to this puzzle I was missing. So for now, I decided to let this bug lie and go take on another gym instead. And turns out this was the smartest thing I could have possibly done. May I present to you Mr. King himself, Brassius. He also has 3 Pokemon, but unlike Katy, he has a Pokemon with a status move. But not just that, a Petalil with only grass moves, and a Smoliv with only grass and normal moves. This is when the ingenious fellow YouTuber Keeper Plays slid into the stream and suggested an incredible plan: obtain a Pokemon with Sap Sipper. This ability absorbs any and all grass type moves, and boosts our attack in the process. Boosting our attack was somewhat irrelevant, but full immunity to Brassius' first Pokemon would be invaluable. So I headed over to the Moisty Mire and picked up a cute little Goomy. So heading into our fight with Brassius, the plan began to immediately bear fruit. Goomy poisoned the Petalil and absorbed all of its moves. Eventually going down, in came Smoliv. This little fella has Tackle and Razor Leaf, so if I swapped back and forth between Ghastly and Goomy, we could eventually waste away all of its PP until the thing took itself out. This was going to take forever, since those 2 moves together have a whopping 55 PP, but it was worth it to get my first badge. Attempting this by myself, I was like, oops! Ah, God! So you're probs thinking, just do that again and get your badge, but then I realized the problem. Even if I did do that, Smoliv would take out enough of my Pokemon with struggle, it would wipe us out anyway. Plus, we had a devilish tree in the back to deal with after. So, what did I do? Well, I decided to pick up a Knackley and evolve it into Knacklestack. Knacklestack comes with the signature move Salt Cure, which is a damage over time move. If we can get Salt Cure off, it'll do damage over time at the end of each turn. But not just that, this Pokemon also has Sturdy as its ability, giving it a built-in Focus Sash. So back in we went and took down Petalil once more. In came Smoliv next, so I swapped over to Mimikyu, who set up Trick Room. With its disguise breaking, we then swapped to Ghastly to curse the Smoliv, and then swapped between Goomy and Mimikyu to stall out the Olive. With it defeated, in came the wannabe tree, who terrestrializes grass. However, with the Trick Room ending, we are now slower. So I switch back to Knacklestack as Sudowoodo uses Rock Throw, and we survive on 1 HP thanks to Sturdy. This lets me set up Salt Cure and begin to slowly whittle it down. Then sending in Whooper, we stall with Protect, but fortunately land a poison on top. This is just enough where now with 2 damage over time afflictions, we have 3 Pokemon alive to hopefully stall out the rest of the battle with. And Sudowoodo is dead from the salt damage. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good job team. Avant-Garde, give me my badge, man. Don't care. Badge 1, 10 hours later. That's crazy. With our first badge now in hand, Mimikyu and Staravia should both now listen to us, which should make Katy far more consistent. Time for revenge. We set up the Trick Room on the first turn and switched to Ghastly straight away, without sacrificing a Whooper in the process, and set up the Curse straight away. Switching to Whooper now, we set up 2 Toxic Spikes, which means any Pokemon that comes in will be badly poisoned instead of regular poison. Swapping to Mimikyu, we set back up the Trick Room once more as the Nimble goes down to the Curse, and in comes Tarantula, who gets badly poisoned, which means now we just have to survive. I send in Staravia and go for Endeavor, which cuts Tarantula's HP to just 62. But unfortunately, this does mean Staravia dies. Fortunately though, I can stall with Protect on Mimikyu still, but here's where it begins to all fall apart once more. Since we badly poisoned the Pokemon, it takes a little bit more time to ramp up in damage, meaning it's not enough to take it out. So we have to risk the double Protect, which only has a 32% chance to work, which of course doesn't happen, leaving Knucklestack all by himself. All seems lost at this point. Yes, we could survive with Sturdy and use Salt Cure and then have this thing taking a lot of damage after each turn, but then we'd have to rely on back-to-back-to-back Protects. You know, there is an infinitely small chance that we can protect, then there's a 30% chance that we can protect again, and then there's like a 9% chance that we can protect again. Triple protect. Huge damage. I don't think it's enough though. Like Salt Cure plus Poison 2 turns in a row. Here we go. Okay, protect again. Imagine it lands. Okay, hang on. There's no chance we triple protect. It's very unlikely. It's like a 9% chance. Oh, what the fuck? What? That wins us it, right? Let's go, boys. What the fuck? What the heck? Oh my god, the triple protect stall Soul Cure poison combo. I was ready to wipe there and go get another Knuckly, but no. Let's go. 2 badges. Let's freaking go. With a 3.2% chance of happening, we somehow got 3 back-to-back protects off, which won us the battle. I cannot believe this happened. We definitely should have lost this, but you know what? We've been here for far too long. I'm just gonna take it. With my first 2 badges, I quickly disposed of the Rock Titan Clorf as normal and headed to take on Giacomo. Fortunately, the guard in front of the base only has 1 Pokemon, so Mimikyu set up the Trick Room and we cursed our way to victory. Now, unfortunately, these Team Star bases aren't too bad because of the way the game treats the Starmobiles. In the code, they're not proper Pokemon, hence why I couldn't actually increase their levels to level 100, and is also likely why they can't get status conditions. Still, getting to the car could be an issue, since in later battles, Eri has like 5 Pokemon as well, plus the car. This time, however, Giacomo only has a Pawniard, so I set up the Salt Cure, which will do increased damage against the Steel type, and then Protect Stall until it went down. Then against the Starmobile, we use Endeavor with Staravia to weaken it, which isn't doing the appropriate amount of damage, by the way, just wanted to point that out, but Mimikyu does manage to finish it off with a Terra boosted Shadow Sneak. My next target was Kofu, but upon arrival, this lady had other ideas, instantly challenging me to a battle. You know Nemona, she can't help it. She sees a person, she has to battle, it's in her blood. Now, you would assume you would actually need to beat Nemona at this point, since, you know, we're well out of the intro. But no, we don't, so I just lose and move on with my life. So with her dealt with, yes, I'm going to say that since we technically did make progress, onto Kofu I went. I assumed I could use the same strategy I used on the other gyms, Trick Room, Priority Toxic Spike, Stall, and then with the help of 2 Water Absorbed Clodseyes, just win the fight. So, in first, we've got the Veluza. We're gonna go for the Trick Room. Bing, bang, bong. That's fine. Oh, it has Mold Breaker. Well, this plan is instantly failed. Yep, his first Pokemon has the Mold Breaker ability, which ignores all other abilities in the game, meaning Mimikyu's Disguise and Knuckly's Sturdy can't activate, meaning death for me. If I had a Focus Sash, this would be a different story, which got me thinking, maybe I could do a different gym first and come back. Well, Larry is nearby, so let's pay him a visit. The plan was somewhat similar, but we used some optimal immunities to our advantage. Leading with Komala, I lead with Haunter, who inflicts the curse immediately. The Komala has Slam, Sucker Punch, and Yawn, and using Curse will mean Sucker Punch won't hit us, and if it goes for Yawn, we'll just switch out anyway. So after doing so, I swapped to Clodsire to set up the Toxic Spikes, baiting another Sucker Punch. Komala died next turn to the Curse as I set up a Double Spike, and in came Dunsparce. Switching back to Haunter, now the only move that it can hit us with is Glare, which does no damage to us, so we curse it again and stall it until it's dead. This left Staraptor, which had Facade and Aerial Ace, but we still had Mimikyu with its Disguise, so I set up the Trick Room and Burn, Cursed, and Salt Cured it until it was down. Hey, well, that went well. That thing got hit with 3 status conditions, by the way. I've really enjoyed this challenge so far, coming up with like a specific rotation and strategy to take down each gym, and you might be thinking to yourself, oh, he can just keep doing this for every battle going forward. But trust me, that is not the case. If they have 4 or more Pokemon, this plan goes straight out the window. And you know who has 4 Pokemon? I freaking Iono does. The only way this plan could continue to work with 4 Pokemon is if we could somehow have immunities to 2 of her Pokemon. Wait a minute. Am I foreshadowing? Iono's team looks like this, and upon first inspection, there is an easy counter to Bellibolt. We in fact already have it, but the real problem is her Mismagius. If only there was a Pokemon who is immune to Ghost and Electric types, but there's no such thing. Anyway, I picked up this Eevee and evolved it into Jolteon because it's my favorite evolution and headed to take on Iono. As the battle began, I set up Trick Room with Mimikyu and let it go down to get a clean switch into Haunter to afflict the curse. Then with Clodsire, we set up the double Toxic Spikes, badly poisoning everything that came in afterwards. With Watchful dying to its curse, in came Bellibolt, which can't hit us thanks to the water absorb ability and being a part ground type, so we stall it down until it's gone. In next is Luxio, and we got it somewhat weak after stalling with Clodsire and then switching to Knucklestack to stall some more. But this was bad. We only had Knucklestack and Jolteon left, and our Knucklestack had already double protected, almost guaranteeing a wipe here. But then I realized Luxio kept going for Spark here, so I decided to swap over to Jolteon to reveal my master plan. Jolteon's ability is Volt Absorb, which absorbs electric type moves, so he takes the Spark and Luxio goes down to the Poison. But now you're thinking, oh no, Mismagius is in next, and it won't get poisoned because of its ability Levitate, and on top of that, Jolteon is still weak to the Hex. But I wasn't worried, and that was because we caught this guy as an Eevee, meaning its Terra type was still normal. So terastallizing normal, we became immune to the Ghost type and could Volt Absorb the Charge Beam, leaving Mismagius with the only move it could use being Confuse Ray. But with it on a timer thanks to the Salt Cure Sturdy combo, it did not matter at all. And down goes Mismagius. Let's go! Arriving in Levincia City, we check out the T-Mobile ad and the Spotify ad for Emo Forever, as well as the awesome Kylie Jenner ad. What is Kylie Jenner doing in my Pokemon game? Guys, Kylie Jenner is everywhere, and same with Wakanda Forever. That's like a 4-year-old movie at this point. With 4 gyms down, we can now pick up the Focus Sash from the shops, but they're so expensive, I can only afford 2. This was exactly what we needed for Kofu, but I might as well stop past Team Star's Mila on the way. To get to her, we had to take down her bodyguard, who just had a little Houndour, so that was fine, and Mila herself wasn't too different, just having to deal with the Torkoal and then the car. So we Curse and Salt Cure the Torkoal and take down the car normally, which brings us back to Kofu. Hey yo, is that the Titan Bombardier all the way in the background? What the heck? What's he doing there? I'm gonna get you soon, you just wait. Let me deal with Kofu and then you're dead. Anyway, with Mimikyu now having the Focus Sash, it can take a hit and set up the Trick Room. Like normal sending in Clodsire next, we then set up the Toxic Spikes. It was during this fight I wanted to test a new strategy that we might be able to use for future fights, and that was the Destiny Bond Cacturne strat. When Destiny Bond is used, until the user moves again, if the Pokemon is killed as a result of an attack, it will take the attacker with it. However, this did rely on moving first still, hence why we set up the Trick Room. Doing so, we baited the Veluza into killing us and took it down with us, meaning in next came Wugtrio, who gets poisoned on entrance, which meant it was only a matter of time. So Wugtrio has Mud Slap, Water Pulse, Headbutt. It's gonna go for Water Pulse. We can switch to our Water Absorb because Mud Slap can't hit us, Headbutt can't hit us, so we'll have to go for Water Pulse. We switch in, Water Absorb. Then it has to use Mud Slap or Headbutt on it, so then we just switch back and switch back and switch back. Yes, indeed. And after doing so, just like that, down it went, which left the crab by itself, which all I had to do was Salt Cure and slowly stall it down into the grave. Woohoo! Take that, Kofu! So now I had a few options. I could go take on Grusher, Tulip, or maybe a Team Starbase. And while I decided, I ended up taking down the 2 other Titans. I told you I was gonna get you, Bombardier. Then I went into the desert again and picked up 3 more Cacturnes. If you can see where this is going, you know it's gonna be fun. I then took this team over to take on Team Star's Atticus, the Poison Specialist. Obviously a lot of our team resists poison, but I wanted to try out my Destiny Bond strategy. I then took out the Earth Titan and went to take on Tulip. Leading with Farigiraf, I set up the Trick Room once again. What a surprise. Then I sent in Cacturne to use Destiny Bond to take out the Giraffe. Then I sent out Cacturn to Destiny Bond to take out the Gardevoir, and then I sent out Cacturn to Destiny Bond and take out the Espathra. This left her Florges, but with the Trick Room fading, I had to use Staravia to finish the job. I chucked a Focus Band on him so he would take a hit and could go for Endeavor to reduce the opponent's health to match its own, and then use Quick Attack to deal the final 1 damage to take it out. This earned me my next badge and a date with Ortega. However, I was having trouble with the Starmobile since it was higher level than most of my Pokemon and couldn't just be Destiny Bonded. So I went to take on Grusha instead. Upon arrival, that battle fiend Nemona challenged me again, and I actually did try to win this one, but without any research into the fight, I didn't realize her Lycanroc actually had Excel Rock, which was a priority move and took down my Destiny Bonders before they could act. So we lost to her again, but it still doesn't matter, so that's good. But next time we meet Nemona, I will defeat you! Mark my words! Nemona did get me thinking though, if Grusha had Pokemon with priority moves, my Destiny Bonding wouldn't work. And upon looking, both her Beartic and Titan both have priority moves, being Aqua Jet and Ice Shard. So I decided to pick up another Starly with an Endeavor Focus Sash. Leading with a Frostmoth, it sets up the Tailwind, so it was still super important to set up Trick Room first before taking out the Frostmoth with a Destiny Bond. Beartic in next, I sent in Starly to take a hit with the Focus Sashes and drop it to 1 HP with Endeavor. With the Trick Room still up, Quick Attack finishes it off and in comes Titan now. On Staravia, I do the same thing, Endeavor to 1 HP, but with the Trick Room fading, Titan outspeeds us and takes out Staravia with a priority Ice Shard. So I sent in Mimikyu to reset it up and go for Shadow Sneak to finish the job. With his final Pokemon Altaria in, I sent back in Starly to Endeavor it. Since it was already low on health and the Trick Room was back up, it dropped it to low, and then Mimikyu could just finish it off with a Shadow Sneak. Ooh, yeah, boy! Only one gym remained, and that was the Ghost Gym, which presented its own unique problems, since it was a double battle. I was unsure if Destiny Bomb was going to work here, since the first set of Pokemon had priority moves, and could potentially double target Mimikyu at the start. Then I thought, oh, we'll just Endeavor them with the Focus Sash, but since they're Ghost type, normal moves don't affect them. And then it hit me. I could go for a super cool strategy. Introducing the Perish Song. After this move is used, any Pokemon on the battlefield will faint after 3 turns. Since this was a double battle, I could hit both opposing Pokemon with it and stall out for just 6 turns basically, and we'd win. Trouble was, I needed to get a Pokemon that could actually learn Perish Song. So I caught this Pincurchin, which doesn't learn it, and took it to trade with this girl in Levincia who wanted one for a Gengar.
Coffee. Coffee.
But I couldn't just have Gengar. I needed another Perish Songer just in case our first one went down. So I caught a Swablu and evolved it into Altaria, and this was super important because of its Terra typing. So the team for this gym consisted of Maushold, Altaria, Gengar, Garganacl, Donphan, and Mimikyu. But why Maushold? When did that get in there? Well, it's one of the few Pokemon who get access to the move Follow Me. This causes the opponent to attack the user instead of whichever Pokemon they targeted. This ensured my Altaria would be able to terrestrialize normal and go for Perish Song safely. This would mean Maushold would faint, but it was worth it since I knew I could send in Garganacl and Stall with Protect and Sturdy afterwards. Expecting the Mimikyu to use a Slash on Altaria now, I sent in Mimikyu to take it since it was immune, but Garganacl did go down. But with the Perish Song reaching 1 and 2 fresh Pokemon in, I could just use Protect with both, and Mimikyu and Banette died at the end of the turn. Now I just had to do that again. The reason I didn't Trick Room at the start, if you're wondering, was because both of these Pokemon had priority moves. But you know who doesn't? Her other 2 Pokemon. So I set up Trick Room, go for Perish Song again, and set her last 2 Pokemon on a 3-turn timer. We stall with our remaining Pokemon, and boom! Gym badge acquired. It's just that easy. Next is the Fairy Starbase, and it was presenting an annoying problem, so I decided now was the perfect time to practice my strategy for the Elite Four. I caught a bunch of Starlies, gave them all Focus Sashes, making sure they had Endeavor and Quick Attack. I would intentionally take a hit on my bird, get to 1 HP, use Endeavor, dropping the opposing Pokemon to 1 HP, and then Quick Attack to finish it off. This shall be now referred to as the FEP strat. Using this, I was able to dismantle Ortega's first set of level 100 Pokemon until in came the car. A couple Clodsires with Poison Jab put a stop to that, however. This took me to our last team Starbase, where we must take on Eri and her fighting type. die. Making it back to Annihilate, we hit it with the Curse to take it out over time and secure our advancement to the car. I decided to bring along a Gardevoir this time since it quad resisted fighting moves from the car. 2 Psychics was enough to take it out, however, and with that we had completed all of the base battles. Now, we could either head to the league, take on Arven, or deal with Team Star. I decided to take on Clavell first as a warm-up for the league. Moving forward, all of the battles except the Elite Four will have a full team of 6. So I decided to take on Clavell as a warm-up for the league, since the champion was going to have 6 Pokemon as well. Looking at his team, he had pretty decent coverage, a Ghost type immune to Fep, and some Pokemon with priority moves. This meant coming up with the perfect blend of Feppers and Bonders. That sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Oh well. Ending up with 3 of each in the end. This battle was kinda tough to get through, and for a few reasons. Since he had 6 Pokemon, I needed to make sure I did not save a Destiny Bonder for last, or at least switch out a Fepper to keep it alive as my final mon. Leading with the Ranguru, it could stall and go for Yawn, but fortunately it went for Bow Play, and I could Fep it to death. Abomasnow in next has the priority move Ice Shard, so I send in my first Bonder to take a hit and then die the following turn, taking the A-Bomb with it. Poltergeist in next has 2 status moves and priority Sucker Punch as well, so we had to hope it went for Shadow Ball twice in a row, otherwise it wasn't going to die to Destiny Bond. We literally have no room for error in these fights. If that was to happen, it was a reset. On this run, however, it did use Shadow Ball twice, and we took it down with us. Houndoom then got Fepped, and then in came Among Us. If this went for Spore or Toxic on a Fepper, it was GG. So I switched to my final Bonder, took a Giga Drain, and took it down with us. This left the Quaquaval, but with no priority moves or ways of messing up the run, all we had to do now was Fep, and boom! Clavell down. With my first 6v6 battle complete, I now knew I could make it through the league without an issue at all. Literally none of the Elite Four members were a problem at all, none had priority moves, and barely had any status moves anyway. The only thing that could have happened is that we got flinched, but it didn't, and so we Fep and bonded our way through Rika, Poppy, Larry, and Hassel without an issue, making it to the champion. She posed more of a threat, with priority moves on Veluza and Espathra. Leading with Espathra, I started by hitting the thing with an Endeavor, but since it also had Quick Attack, it took down our Starly first. This was a huge misplay, and I definitely should have led with a Destiny Bonder. But fortunately for me, sending in Staravia, it didn't decide to use Quick Attack again, and so I was able to recover the attempt. I sent in Cacturn to bond King Gambit, and same for Go-Goat and Veluza. This left us with 2 birds, but to my surprise, my Pokemon were now in the realm where they could actually outspeed slow Pokemon, which led to Staravia endeavoring before actually getting hit, meaning we'd need to use Endeavor again. This also meant Staravia went down and left me with 1 Starly. With 2 Pokemon left to take down, it didn't look good, but thankfully, neither of her 2 Pokemon had any priority moves, so we were able to quick attack the Avalugg and then execute a Fep perfectly to take down her Glamora, surviving the battle with 1 Starly on 1 HP. Nice. I decided to finish off the Team Star story first, and man, this was hard. Every single one of her evolutions has Quick Attack, so I couldn't stall properly with Poison or Perish Song since I didn't have enough turns to stall through 6 Pokemon, and obviously you can't Destiny Bond 6 Pokemon because then all of your Pokemon are dead too. Or could you? Nope, you can't. I tried it. Then I realized I could just get lucky, bring 3 Feppers and a Gengar Bonder to outspeed her final Pokemon Sylveon, and maybe I'd have a chance. I just need to hope that one of her evolutions didn't go for Quick Attack on its opening turn, and then we would be good. Leading with Umbreon, Staravia got it to 1 HP, and then I decided to swap to Gengar, predicting a Quick Attack. This ensured I'd at least have 1 Pokemon still alive and Sucker Punch the Umbreon. Guarantee the knock since we outspeed because Quick Attack can't hit us. From here it was just more of the same bond, Fep, using Gengar as a guaranteed finisher with Sucker Punch, which led me to her Sylveon. And now it was time for Gengar to make the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you, Gengar. You will be missed. Oh, he's back. Oh, well. Good job, Gengar. Arven was next on the chopping block, but this was more problematic than you might think, and it all came down to his Garganacl. If it managed to set up Stealth Rocks, he would essentially break all my Focus Sashes before I had a chance to use them. And with a full team of 6, I could not stall him. But what I could do is potentially outspeed all of his slow Pokemon, but I'd need a Destiny Bonder who is super fast. So who better than Frostlass? So I caught a few of them and took 2 plus 2 Cacturns plus 2 Starlies to take on Arven. Now I just had to hope we outspeed the Garganacl. We took out the Greed and Buyout, speeding it and Destiny Bond it, and we made it to Garganackle. And thankfully for me, the plan went off without a hitch. It didn't even end up using Stealth Rocks anyway, but it was better safe than sorry, I guess. Now all we had to do was Bond and Theft the rest, and that's GG. I feel like I said I was supposed to take someone on earlier. Well. If it isn't Nimona, the only trainer so far who I haven't been able to beat. Well, let's see how you like this team. This team should work against her as well. We just have to be mindful of her priority attackers and take them out with the Bonders. Going off without a hitch, I earned the respect of my peers and the love I deserved from my dad. Never mind, he's still gone to get the milk. But we aren't done yet. We still have to take on the one and only AI Turo. So we descended into the depths of Area Zero and made it to the time machine. I bought a team comprised of as many of the strategies I'd used up to this point. I wanted to use every strategy that I'd used up to this point in this fight. If I could, I would have used all of them, but I used a few. So beginning the battle, he led with his Iron Moth. So I sent in the Pokemon to represent the very first strategy we used, being the Poison Strat. Sending in Clodseye, I set up the Toxic Spike successfully and went down to a Fiery Dance. But that's okay because I can send in Cacturn next to take it out with Destiny Bond, representing the Bond strategy. Doing so successfully, in came Iron Bundle, which was the perfect Pokemon to vet. But since we had the spikes down, our Starly didn't even need to Quick Attack. Sending in the Iron Thorns next, we go for a priority kill Destiny Bond with Frostlass, which worked like a charm. But when I tried to take out the Iron Hands, we ended up getting paralyzed and I had to restart. So I decided to just go for the traditional FEP and Bond combo to end it off, not wanting to spend a million hours here for no reason. Even though I probably could have just done this anyway. So we made it back to the Iron Hands and Destiny bonded it with Cacturn. Ye old reliable, as they say. Leaving the Iron Jugulis, which Haunter took down with a big bond, leaving the Iron Valiant all by itself for the final FEP of the run. We still had to beat the level 100 Miraidon, but since this game doesn't let you lose this fight, it took just a little bit longer since our moves did barely any damage, but after terrestrializing, we took the Miraidon down and beat Pokemon Violet with every trainer only having level 100 Pokemon. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash like on it, hit subscribe, make my dreams come true. I want 100k. Please get me that block. Alright, love you guys. Peace.